Hello and welcome to DevotedGolfer.tv. My name is Woody Lashen and my guest today is Dr. Erik Henrikson from Ping. How you doing, Erik?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. Erik, before we get into the product, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background? What brought you to before you started working for Ping?
So I started at Ping about 6 years ago. My background is aerospace engineering. So I did an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering and then studied electric propulsion, small microthrusters for small satellites through grad school. I got my Ph.D. in aerospace engineering from Arizona State University. I was teaching a little bit at the time, and then an opportunity came up to go over to Ping, and so took that, and it's been a blast. So
excellent. So I guess technically you're a rocket scientist.
Taking some rocket propulsion classes, yes.
Okay. So I want to talk today a little about the new G series because you got a whole new line of G series stuff. Mm-hmm. Let's start with the driver. Mm-hmm. With the driver, you did something a little different with the crown of the driver. And I'd love to explain to us why you did that versus something with the Rapture driver that you had carbon composite in the top on the Rapture driver. You've done this a little something different with the G series. Tell us a little about that and what the benefits are for the golfer.
Sure. So our goal is to always be driving that CG down and back. We found that leads to obviously incredible forgiveness and higher moment of inertia, so MOI, and really good launch conditions. And so we're always trying to find ways to get what we call discretionary weight or extra weight that we can put in different places of the driver. Dragonfly Technology is something that really kind of came about and started when John A. Solheim, our CEO, brought this picture into us in engineering that he took on vacation, and he was really fascinated with the way that the Dragonfly's wings were structured. And if you look really closely at the detail of kind of this leading edge and how there's different kind of veins in there, he just kind of asked us, he's like, why is it the way it is, and is there maybe anything in this that might inspire you as you design product? And so that really sent us down a path of trying to not only understand the Dragonfly's wings and kind of that structure and kind of its functionality, but exploring ways to use that to reduce weight on the crown of a driver specifically. So if we can remove weight from the crown, which is kind of the highest point of the driver, that gives us some weight to put low and further back. And so what you see on the new G driver is kind of this ribbing here, and there's actually some ribbing underneath as well. And what that ribbing allowed us to do is go thinner than we've ever gone with cast titanium. This is down at 17 thousandths of an inch. So that's as thin as like $3 bills. And with something like the Rapture driver, where we did go more multi-material approach, at the time of the Rapture driver, the thinnest we could go is about twice that, 33 thousandths of an inch. And some advancements in casting technology, centrifugal vacuum casting, and really us at Ping, casting has been a part of our DNA since the beginning, and really trying to push the limits of what we can achieve, both with titanium casting and steel casting. We've gotten, with this structure, gotten all the way down to 17 thousandths of an inch of crown thickness, but have that rib structure to give us some stability, maintain some good acoustics, so making sure it sounds okay, and that ultimately gave us 8 grams of weight to then move down and back, helping us increase MOI and ultimately lead to better performance.
So we're able to keep the great Ping sound, but have even better performance.
Correct. And something with the carbon fiber at the time, we were able to net a weight savings out of that with the Rapture driver, but something you have to understand with carbon fibers is there's a lot of other elements to it. It's a very lightweight, stiff structure, but at the same time you need some epoxies, and you typically need a lip in there, so you have kind of double thicknesses in there of some carbon fiber and some titanium. And that's not to say that we're never going to find another material that we might use and go a multi-material route. We just feel with the titanium and the titanium casting, we're continuing to push the limits of that and see great advantages in so still using titanium.
We can get less weight with the titanium. It's obviously going to be better and keep the great sound and feel that we've come accustomed
Correct.
to. 3 different models with the G series driver. Let's start with the standard version.
So the standard version is kind of your meat and potatoes version. So low, deep CG. It's going to fit kind of the widest range of players. And all three models, they have a T9S face with a proprietary heat treatment. Gives us a really strong face and is one of the components that lead to higher ball speeds. Obviously, you see the weight port in the back, but like I said, we're always trying to drive that CG down and back. We've been able to continue to do that with the G driver, comparing that to the G30 driver. Just like the G30, we have two other models as well. We have the SF Tech driver, which is really designed to help that player fight that miss to the right. And we
I think a lot more players should look at that, by the way, because we've had tremendous success with the SF Tech with the guy that tends to leave the face open.
And a lot of our fitters, like you, back with the K15, had a lot of success with the K15 as well. And so we used a lot of our learnings with the K15 and really, channeled those, and that led to some of the design you saw both in the G30 SF Tech as well as the new G SF Tech. And then the third model is the LS Tech. So that's our low spinning version of our driver head. And so with that, we still maintain a lot of forgiveness, and we move that CG just ever so slightly, a little bit more forward, kind of gives us that lower spin characteristic with the LS Tech head. And so with these three models, we feel like it gives our power fitters a really good range to fit the widest range of players and help golfers play their best.
I like it. Let's talk a little bit more about the LS Tech. I remember today you were saying earlier that they made the lie angle a little flatter on the LS Tech. Is it because you want a little more fade bias, or just because the better player likes it sitting that way? What was the reason behind going a little flatter on the LS?
I think it came a lot from doing some motion capture analysis. So we looked at kind of a range of players, and obviously there's a certain demographic that you're kind of looking at with these different models. And what we realized when we were looking at impact location and delivered lie angle in Enzo, which is our motion capture system at Ping, we kind of realized that the demographic that's more going to gravitate toward an LS Tech head is going to need a little bit of a flatter lie angle. And so on average, the average lie angle for that LS Tech head is about a degree flatter than that of the standard head or the SF Tech head.
That's a big deal for me, because I find that most of the better players need a little flatter, and the average golfer needs a little bit more upright. So it's really great that you guys made that change this year. What we got here, we got a Fairway Wood.
You got a Fairway Wood.
Right, so let's talk about the G Series Fairway. What did you change? You made some big changes here.
Yeah,
correct?
So the G Fairway Wood, we're really excited about our new Fairway Woods. There's a number of things that changed in the design from the G30, starting with a thinner crown. So we've gone 25% thinner in the crown. And again, same story with the driver that allows us to just get some more discretionary weight that we can then use to improve forgiveness and launch characteristics. It uses a 455 steel face. And one of the questions I get a lot when people sit the Fairway Wood down and really look at it is they ask, well, is the face more shallow than the G30 because it appears more shallow? And the answer is no. It's still just as tall, and we get a lot of ball speed out of it. And you can kind of see from this image, if in orange here is the outline of the G Fairway Wood, and then in blue is the G30. You can see the effective height of the face is the same. And if you kind of go forward here, what you'll see is that our lead designer on this, Marty Jertson, spent a lot of time looking at that transition from the face to the sole. And as you know, for a player, one of the most important things with the Fairway Wood is the ability to get it in the air. Yep. And to get something in the air, you need to make sure you get the club under the ball and make sure that ball is impacting, not low on the face, but as close to center as possible. And so you can see with this transition, what we're able to do is effectively lower that lead edge of the Fairway Wood. And it just, when you set it down, it just gives you a lot more confidence when you set up to the ball. But do that while maintaining face height, which helps produce a lot of ball speed. And ultimately, it ended up, when we did our testing, led to a 12% higher face impact location, which again, this just leads to happy golfers.
It's going to give us less spin and higher launch, right?
Correct.
All the formulas we want from a Fairway Wood.
Exactly. Exactly. So with the Fairway Wood, with our offerings with the Fairway Wood this year, something we heard a lot from accounts is, man, it'd be great if we could get an SF Tech set of Fairway Woods.
It's a K. We've been missing it since the K.
So this year with the G line, we are offering both the 3 and a 5 wood in SF Tech. which we think will provide a great fitting option for guys like yourself. There's a little bit more loft on those to help that type of guy who's going to play an SF Tech.
But it still has the adjustability, right?
Still has the adjustability.
We still can fit it.
Correct. And then we also have a stretch 3, which is kind of going to be your strong 3 wood, and that's at 13 degrees. So that's for the guy who likes to take his 3 wood off the tee, stronger player who might be able to hit that off the deck.
When you say stretch, what did you do? Well, obviously we know it's longer from face to back, but why did we do that, and what was the?
Well, it's when you want to stretch it out. You're sitting there at the par 5 and you want to stretch it out and get to that par 5. And so that was honestly kind of the inspiration of that name, calling it the stretch 3.
Okay.
And so, we definitely, when you start making the head bigger like that, a big thing is making sure you keep that CG low. And obviously that leading edge low, but the CG low as well, to just help get the ball up in the air. As you go lower in loft and bigger, and typically a bigger head, it's a little bit harder to get it in the air. I put it in my bag and I love it. I've been playing the, if you remember, Rapture Fairway Wood for a while, but switching over to that stretch 3 has been awesome. So
well, that's something I'm gonna have to try for sure. All right, so next in the line would be the hybrid.
Yeah, so with our kind of what we would call the bridge, so when you go from kind of that long iron into the fairway woods, what do you do? How do you transition? And some guys will go directly from a long iron over to their fairway woods, and then you have hybrids and what we're introducing this year, which is a crossover. So the new G line both has a traditional hybrid, which we're really excited about. Put a lot of effort into really improving the alignment of that hybrid. So that has turbulators actually on the crown, and those really serve to improve alignment. It really helps capture the ball when you set up to it. And I don't have a hybrid here, but what you'll notice when you pick up the new G hybrid as well is a new paint scheme on the face that again really helps capture the ball. So guys, when Lee Westwood first put it down, he just he kind of gave it that. This really sets up well, and again just inspires confidence when you set up to it. And we spent a lot of time with those hybrids as well, optimizing CG placement. So we pulled up a lot of fitting data, trying to understand the launch and spin characteristics of the guys that would maybe fit into a 6 hybrid, and then the guys that would fit into a 2 hybrid. You're talking two different golfers.
Guys, absolutely.
And they're going to have different spin characteristics that they're looking for based on their club head speed and things like that. So we spent a lot of time optimizing the CG placement of our hybrids with the G line. And then the crossover. So this is a new product for us that, again, we're really excited about. And first thing I think of when I think the crossover is fun. It's a fun club to hit. You get a ton of ball speed out of it. And really, the benefit of the crossover is you get that ball speed that kind of approaches that of a hybrid, but spin characteristics that are closer to that of an iron. And so with hybrids, you get into a fitting environment, and sometimes with a hybrid, a guy might spin it a little bit too much and kind of balloon on them a little bit, or they might struggle to tug it a little left. And I think we've made
That's my problem with a hybrid.
We've made
left.
We've made some great strides with the G hybrid to really try and mitigate those misses to the left. But another good option is the crossover, because it's you're going to struggle to really. You can turn this over; it's very versatile, but you're going to struggle with that extreme miss to the left with the crossover. And so we feel like it's going to be a great addition to our line. It's going to serve as a great option for guys who maybe spin the hybrid too much or have trouble with it going left. We've got a ton of positive feedback on tour already with it. Guys who, both want to use it off the tee and then kind of as a club into par 5s. The one thing, we're really trying to say is this is not a driving iron. This is so much more than a driving iron. If you look at the difference in moment of inertia between this and our, say, Rapture driving iron, you're talking about a 31% increase in moment of inertia. So that's like comparing an S iron to a G Max.
Yeah. To a G Max.
To a G Max. I mean,
it's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. But the other nice thing about this is you can really, with the flat face, you can flight it if you want to. You can kind of hit that stinger if you want to, or really hit that kind of high ball into a par 5 if you need to. And so it's a blast to hit. You can get it in steel. We see a lot of guys actually on tour. They're putting their graphite hybrid shafts into it, and having a lot of success with that. So it's an exciting new product for us, and we think it'll really shine, particularly in the fitting environment.
The biggest thing for me is more options. Ping is always about trying to give us more options so we can do a better job as a fitter. Because if you come to me, I have more options. We didn't have this option really from you guys before, really not from many places, certainly nothing like this. And it gives us more options. And one of the things I find is that you can just lie on this. So it can, just like an iron, it can be fitted for you, and that's critical as opposed to some of them you simply can't get the correct lie, and you call it a crossover, but it's still close to an iron, and the lie's got to be correct.
Right. I'm really glad you brought that up, Woody. So we get basically a full 5 degrees of adjustability and lie angle with the crossover, so you can really match it to the rest of your set. You also get 1.5 degrees of adjustability in terms of loft. So if you're trying to really dial in somebody's, when you're trying to gap somebody properly, you can use that as another variable to kind of tweak the trajectory a little bit and hit the gaps you're looking for.
Options. I like options.
Yes.
All right. So next in the line is the new G Series iron.
Yeah. So what I have up here is I love this slide because it shows a lot of different options that we looked at when we were just trying to understand how to stiffen a face. And you might think, well, why are you trying to stiffen a face? Isn't everybody trying to make the face more flexible?
Yeah.
And I'll get into that in a second as far as why we were trying to stiffen the face. But this is really, kind of, for me right now, I'm managing the innovation group over at Ping. So that's kind of our R&D group. And one of the tools that it's at our disposal is called finite element analysis, or it's called FEA. And what that allows us to do is really look virtually at a number of different options and try and see how a club's going to respond if you change the geometry. You can see a number of different just options in these thumbnails of ways we were looking to stiffen the face. And so I think it's just kind of a neat slide that just kind of shows a way and how we use some of these tools to try and explore and understand things more. We're always looking for a better understanding of kind of just the fundamental physical principles that can...
Just take a quick break for a second, by the way. One of the things to me that I love about Ping is Ping's an engineering company, right? So when you come to the market with a new product, it's not because we have a time frame, we have to design something, we got to change something over. No, it's from engineering first, and then we're going to bring that product to market.
Yeah. So a big piece of Ping in our foundation is what we call the knowledge library. And that's a database of documents that we've written that include limit curves. So something as simple as, how does loft affect spin rate? And we could go in and kind of look at that trade-off curve. And we spend a lot of time doing some fundamental research to understand just those fundamental kind of golf physics questions and principles. How does face roughness affect spin rate? And how does face roughness influence spin rate on different lofts? And we find that
it makes a big difference.
It's actually
on a driver to a wedge.
And it's a completely different, behavior. You actually get on a wedge. You think, all right, I'm going to roughen the face. I'm going to increase the spin, and more times than not, that's what happens. You do it on a driver, something completely different happens. You roughen the face, and it actually reduces spin rate, which is something we found in kind of our studies, and we've done a lot of modeling to kind of prove why that's the case. And so we really try and lead with that foot and take those learnings and those insights and allow those to guide our decisions and guide our designs, and then ultimately develop technologies that we can feed to the design team and they can integrate into product and deliver to the consumer. So
that's great. That's really, really, really good stuff. So we got the G30, got the G Series. Why is it better?
What's going on here?
What's going on in this slide?
I see colors. So kind of going back to why we're looking at stiffening the face. If you see here, kind of a critical region of the iron is kind of this transition region from the face down into the sole. And one thing that you'll notice with the G30 compared to the G is this transition region is a lot thinner in here, right?
And it's almost about half as thick.
Yeah. So not only did we remove a lot of weight out of there, which gives us some more discretionary weight, which is always good, so we can increase moment of inertia and move that CG around, but it also leads to kind of concentrating a little bit more stress there. And I want to point out here that these figures here are deflection. A lot of times you see colors and you think stress, for the technical minded. This is actually, so where it's red, it's actually deflected the most, and where it's blue, it's not moved at all. And so comparing the G30 to the G, one thing I want you to notice is how with the G30, you get some good, decent deflection here, which stores that energy and ideally returns that to the ball. But there's definitely kind of this U shape, right? The top rail is still pretty close to where it started.
Right.
And in those cases, what ends up happening is you can get some some high ball speeds on the center, but this sort of kind of drum behavior, you get a gradient. As you move out radially from that kind of center of the face, you're going to get different ball speeds.
So hot spots.
Hot spots, right. And so you never, one of the most frustrating things, you catch one clean, you just blaze it over the green, and so we're trying to really eliminate.
And this is your traditional trampoline effect for people that, like me, they're
yeah, no, it's a good analogy. And with the G, what we're trying to do is really concentrate a lot of that deflection down here and get the face to really deflect uniformly. So it behaves more like a diving board than a trampoline. And what we found, and we saw this on pingman testing and in modeling as well, is it really helped create equal ball speeds across the face. So much more level ball speeds when you hit heel, toe, high, low. And to do that, though, you really need to kind of stiffen the face, and that's what this core eye structure does. It really absorbs a lot of that stress into that hoop structure, and kind of concentrates it down into this area, which gives us more of a trampoline effect, leading to higher launch angles and more ball speed. I think you can kind of really create this drum effect, or in some cases you can actually, depending on what you do to the geometry, get it to actually bend more this way rather than this way, right? And sometimes that's going to lead to lower launch angles. And one of the best things with this is, people hit it, man, I'm getting 5 more yards, and just really excited about the ball speeds they're getting. Like, well, wait a second, what's the loft, or what's the length? And so
it's going to stop on the green.
Yeah. So the specs are the same actually between the G and the G30. We didn't do anything different in terms of lofts or lengths, but all that kind of ball speed you see and that launch angle you see is really due to this sort of behavior that you see here, getting it to kind of bend more uniformly and behave more like a diving board than say a trampoline.
So we're trying to get more consistency in distance control, not only right and left.
Correct.
Which is a big thing as a fitter. Guys, so I'm hitting my 6-iron, 185, but his short shot is 165 and his long shot is 195.
Right.
That's not good dispersion.
No, it'll lead to a lot of balls and water in front of the green and all else. So.
And so what you were really trying to do here is closing that up. Sounds like a really big breakthrough to me.
No, we're really excited about it. Something we first introduced with the G-Max iron, and being able to kind of package it in a little bit more of a compact head with the G iron, was for us it was a bit of a challenge. You try and take something that's a really complex structure and try and cram it down into a
smaller
package is a challenge. But yeah, I mean we're really excited about the G iron. Obviously, I've been talking about core eye technology, but some other pieces, if you put this down, and I mean you've set up to it, it's really got a different look to it. It's got a ferrule, which first of all is kind of like what's a ferrule doing on a G iron, and then also the top rail has got a bit more of a bevel on it. So when you put it down, it doesn't have that kind of bulky top rail feel that sometimes you get with irons of this category. It's got a much slimmer effect. A lot of the tour guys, and Louis put it down, and he was like, yeah, it's kind of tour style. And some of our tour players have already, grabbed some sets. Afa Munoz came in. She took a full bag of G out with her when she came into the plant last week. So a lot of excitement about the G iron. So
that now we have the performance, we've got a little better look. Golfers, all golfers love that.
For sure.
Well, Erik, this was great. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
No, it was a pleasure.
And my name's Woody Lashen, and you've been watching DevotedGolfer.tv.